The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. This non-commercial program is for educational purposes only.
You're listening to
आप सुन रहे हैं तुम सुनो था क्यों केल्ता इदिरा
Radio Azim Premji University.
If you're a sports lover and someone asked you who Sania Mirza, P.T. Usha, Deepika Kumari, Bachendri Pal and Mary Kom were, you probably wouldn't bother to Google. But if someone asked you who Archana Venkataraman, Rita Gombu, Vandana Rao, Chekrovolu Swuro and Sarita Devi were, your answer most likely would be, who? Such is the nature of sports. Some become stars, while the others are eclipsed by stars. This is Almost Perfect, a podcast series from Radio Azim Premji University, where we bring you the incredible stories of Indian women athletes who competed at the highest level and made a name for themselves, but who rarely find a mention in the Hall of Fame of Indian sports. Episode 2, Missing the Mark. On 14th June 2012, a prodigious teenager, Deepika Kumari, became the first Indian archer to be ranked number 1 in the world. With the 2012 London Olympics looming just a month away, the nation's hope for the first ever medal in archery rested on the young shoulders of Deepika and her 2 experienced teammates. But the team's pursuit of a medal ended in heartbreak, and they returned home empty-handed. Despite the Olympic setback, Deepika's career was only just beginning. She would go on to achieve greater heights and become the poster girl of archery in India. But for her 2 teammates, the 2012 Olympics marked the beginning of the end. One of them was 30-year-old Chekrovolu Swuro, the first woman from Nagaland to participate in the Olympics.
Day 2 of the archery at Lord's Cricket Ground.
After crashing out of the individual event, the Indian archers were now trailing Denmark in the first round of the team event. To make matters worse, the wind was blowing at a menacing speed of 10 kilometers per hour. The pressure was immense on Swuro.
इतना तेज हवा था तो कुछ समझ में नहीं आया किस तरफ एम करो किस तरफ कहाँ हवा कहाँ किस तरफ आ रहा है लेफ्ट से आ रहा है राइट से आ रहा है पूरा हवा तो घूम रहा चारों तरफ तो थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन था.
Swuro steadied herself in a square stance and pulled the bowstring. She felt the tension coursing through her veins as she held her breath. Then, focusing only on the bullseye, she released the arrow.
Out in the blue for a lowly 6.
It landed 4 rings outside the bullseye on 6, the lowest point of the match so far. She would hit another 6 in the next set to seal the fate for India, as Denmark would go on to win the match by a razor-thin 1 point. Swuro was born on November 21st, 1982 in a quaint little village in Phek district, Nagaland. Raising 10 children was challenging, to say the least, for her ironsmith father and homemaker mother. But they ensured that the children never felt the pangs of scarcity. When Swuro was still a child, her older sister was already a national-level archer. Swuro's father wanted her to follow in her sister's footsteps, but her mother was against another daughter becoming a sportswoman. As for Swuro, she was too young to comprehend the complexities of pursuing a career. However, she vividly remembers an incident that might have nudged her towards heeding her father's advice.
एक दिन मेरे दीदी का वो कॉमनवेल्थ गेम्स था, ऐसे कुछ खेलते समय वो मेडल जीता, तो नागालैंड पोस्ट में आया था। तो बेबी एक हमारा भैया है एक तो मैं घर के बगल में, तो न्यूज़पेपर लेके देखो तुम्हारा दीदी न्यूज़पेपर में आया है, ऐसे करके मेरे पापा हम लोगों को दिखाया। तो मैं भी पापा को बोला कि मेरा मन में यही है कि मैं भी एक दिन न्यूज़पेपर में ज़रूर निकलेंगे, यही था। तो मेरे पापा को बताया, पापा ने हाँ तुम खेलना चाहता है तो जाओ दीदी के साथ छोड़ना नहीं है, दोनों मिल के मतलब अच्छा नाम कमाना है, अच्छा ज़िंदगी जीना है।
From a young age, Swuro's father instilled in her a profound work ethic, waking her as early as 3 in the morning to perform household chores and accompany him to his workshop. This early morning regimen reflected her father's belief that hard work was the currency of success, and a young Swuro soaked up each lesson wholeheartedly. In 1994, at 12 years old, Swuro held a bow for the first time when she participated in a sub-junior level competition in Nagaland.
पहली बार बो पकड़ा था तो दीदी ने मेरे को सीधा कुछ रबर भी नहीं खिंचवाया, सीधा बो पकड़ा तो मेरा लेफ्ट हैंड में एल्बो में इतना खराब से लगा कि काला पीला नीला ऐसे कुछ हो गया था। तो मैंने रोने लगा। दीदी ने बताया कि अगर इस छोटा चोट के लिए रोएगा तो ज़िंदगी में कभी आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा। तो उसी दिन से मैं ठान लिया कि हाँ दीदी सच बोल रहे हैं।
The experience taught Swuro her first lesson in archery, that the sport is a lot more complex than it appears. Although archery is one of the oldest and most popular sports, it is also one of the most misunderstood for how deceptively easy it looks. Beyond the simple act of releasing an arrow, the sport demands a unique combination of strength, precision, and the mental focus. Mastering the subtle dynamics of body posture, hand-eye coordination, and the bow itself is an art, as even the slightest deviation can impact accuracy. And on top of everything, there are external factors like wind speed that add to the complexity of the sport. That fateful day at the police ground, Swuro understood that to be an archer, one needs to do more than just shoot an arrow. For the next several months, she honed her skills and went for her next outing at the sub-junior national competition in Punjab. Although she didn't win any medals, it was here that the chief coach of Tata Archery Academy spotted her potential and invited her to Jamshedpur. For Swuro, this was the opportunity she had been waiting for. But life in the academy proved to be an ordeal for the young girl, who had never lived away from her parents. For the first 3 months, she didn't utter a word to anyone, as she couldn't speak nor understand English or Hindi. Despite the language barrier, she closely observed her coaches to learn the intricacies of the sport. She began to find her feet in the stances and worked on her posture to sync with the bow. She understood how the limbs of the bow, when pulled, would flex and store the energy that pushes the arrow forward when she lets go. Every day was a learning experience for Swuro, and she completely immersed herself in the sport. Her hard work and dedication paid off, as just 3 months into the academy, she won a bronze in a sub-junior meet in Haryana. The success gave her a newfound confidence that she could excel in the sport if she continued to work hard. The same year, she embarked on her first international campaign, boarding a flight for the 1988 Asian Cup in Bangkok.
मेरा पहला इंटरनेशनल है, सोच के मैं बहुत खुश था। फिर भी 1 पॉइंट के चलते गोल नहीं जीत पाया, तो उसके चलते भी अफसोस था। मगर मेरा पहला इंटरनेशनल है और हमारा एकेडमी में पहला इंटरनेशनल मेडल तो मैं ही लेके आया था टाटा आर्चरी एकेडमी में।
Securing a medal for the academy held profound significance for Swuro. It symbolized her gratitude towards the institute that had transformed her from a timid village girl in a far-flung Nagaland to a full-fledged professional athlete. So exceptional was her fitness level that other athletics coaches approached her to join their sport, including Mohan Bagan, India's elite football club. But Swuro was firm in her decision to stick to archery. In this sport, she saw a future and a dream that could be accomplished. The Indian women's archery team had never qualified for the Olympics before. But things were about to change following the team's participation in the 2003 World Championships in New York.
US में न्यू यॉर्क सिटी में हम लोग वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप खेलने गया तो पहला लड़कियों का टीम ओलंपिक्स के लिए क्वालिफाई किया तो मतलब बहुत अच्छा फीलिंग्स था. हाँ मतलब लड़का लोग तो पहले ओलंपिक्स जा चुके हैं मगर लोग इंडिया में लड़के लोग कोई भी ओलंपिक्स क्वालिफाई नहीं किया तो सभी लोग के लिए इंडियन लोग के लिए मतलब पूरा भारतीय मतलब बहुत खुश थे हम लोग क्वालिफाई करके. मेडल तो नहीं जीता मगर सभी लोग एयरपोर्ट में आके हम लोग को रिसीव किया. इतना खुश था मतलब इतना ढोल कभी भी ऐसे नहीं देखा कि एयरपोर्ट में इतना ढोल बजा. इतना मतलब सभी लोग इतना खुश थे कि लड़का लड़की भी ओलंपिक्स क्वालिफाई करके आया.
But the euphoria was short-lived. At that time, the final Indian archery team for the Olympics was chosen through a selection process. Although Swuro was part of the qualifying team in New York, she had to go through a series of trials to secure a place in the 3-member Olympic team. In the end, she didn't qualify.
शायद मेरे में कुछ कमी रह गया होगा नहीं तो ऊपर वाला का मर्जी नहीं था क्योंकि ऐसे कुछ तो नहीं लगा उस टाइम में तो कुछ ज़्यादा सोचता भी नहीं था. मैं रफ एंड टफ किसी से भी बात कर लेता था तो वो लोग सोचता है कि मेरा मेंटली ही खराब है मेरा मतलब बिहेवियर ही ठीक नहीं है ऐसे सोचता था. फिर भी मैं हार नहीं माना.
Despite their best efforts, the Indian women's archery team failed to secure medals in the 2004 Athens Olympics. Swuro continued to work hard, bent on participating in the next Olympics. After years of relentless training, her dedication paid off, as once again, she was part of the team that qualified for the 2008 Olympics. But yet again, she faltered during the selection trials. But this time, it was for a different reason.
उस टाइम में सीनियर कोई प्लेयर थे तो उन्होंने आके मतलब कुछ महीना हम लोग के साथ थे क्या कोचिंग कैंप में इंडिया कैंप में कलकत्ता में. तो उन्होंने सिलेक्शन से पहले ही मेरा इक्विपमेंट मैं 68-40 चलाता है मगर उन्होंने ज़बरदस्ती मेरे को 68-42 चलवाया. लिम्स इक्विपमेंट चेंज किया. मैं माना नहीं मैं ये नहीं चला सकता मगर उन्होंने माना नहीं मेरे को ज़बरदस्ती मेरा इक्विपमेंट चेंज किया. उसके बाद मेरा परफॉर्मेंस डाउन शुरू हुआ.
Archery, more than most sports, hinges on precision. Even the slightest change in detail can have a huge impact on performance. To understand this dynamic better, we reach out to Swuro's former coach and mentor, Sanjeev Kumar Singh.
So when archers are shooting, we start with the lower poundage. When we started Chekrovolu Swuro, we started with the 38, went to 40, and then finally to 42. Now the graduation from 38 to 42 or from 40 to 42, for every pound, it takes nearly 6 months to a year, depending upon the physical condition of the archer. So it takes a year to master and then produce results. So when she shifted from 40 to 42, because we're preparing for the Olympics, it took her nearly a year to master the technique and then to start giving results.
Swuro was furious and felt betrayed. Even after qualifying for the 2004 and 2008 Olympics, she couldn't go to either. She felt like giving up. To make matters worse, her seniors from the archery fraternity suggested she leave the sport to make a statement. The only person, other than her family, who encouraged Swuro to continue was the then senior vice president of the Archery Association of India, Mr. Prakash Nath Mukherjee.
मेरा जो सीनियर वाइस प्रेसिडेंट है वो मेरा पापा भी जैसे ही है वो मेरे को अपना बेटी मानता है. तो उन्होंने बोला कि कोई बात नहीं अगली बार. अरे कितना अगली बार करेगा ना. उन्होंने इतना ही बोला कि कोई बात नहीं अभी भी तू एक ओलंपिक्स खेल सकता है. हाँ सर मैं कर सकता हूँ मगर ऐसे पॉलिटिक्स करेगा तो मैं और मेरे अंदर में ताकत नहीं है। ऐसे भी मतलब हम लोग का नोटिस से कोई नहीं था, तो वही एक मेरा पापा भी था, मेरा गुरु भी था, तो आखिर मेरे को हक किया, कोई बात नहीं, दिल छोटा मत करो। उन्होंने ही मेरे को और भी encourage किया।
After a period of reflection, Swuro decided to return home for a well-deserved break. Though she continued to practice, there was a shift in her mindset. Deep down, she was convinced she did not want to pursue another Olympic bid. Months turned into years. The Olympics once again loomed on the horizon. This time, it was going to be held in London. Back in India, the archery trials for the World Championship, the gateway to the 2012 London Olympics, were scheduled in Kolkata. By this time, Swuro's brother had also embraced archery and was vying for a spot in the trials. Together, Swuro, her sister and her brother made their way to Kolkata. Swuro had accompanied them only to support her brother and had no intention of participating in the trials. When they arrived in Kolkata, they received shocking news.
मेरे पापा को अटैक आ गया, स्ट्रोक हो गया, तो हम लोग तीनों भाई बहन साथ में शाम में जाके ग्राउंड में इतना मतलब भगवान से टाइम मांगा कि बस 2 दिन मेरा पापा को मतलब अच्छा रखो ऐसे करके, क्योंकि पापा हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट है। तो हम तीनों मतलब क्या करो, इस शाम में रात में कैसे घर पहुंचूं ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा था। तो मैंने बोला कि दीदी अब भाई को देखो, मैं तो कहीं से भी मतलब फ्लाइट पकड़ के गुवाहाटी कोलकाता से दिमापुर, दिमापुर से गुवाहाटी, ऐसे कोई कहीं भी मैं चला जाऊँ बोला। तो मेरा दीदी माना ही नहीं। तो तुम दोनों मतलब अच्छा से सिलेक्शन ट्रायल में दो, अगर मैं सिलेक्शन देने से भी क्या फ़ायदा, मैं काल की मैं ओलंपिक क्वालिफाई करके आऊँ और फिर मेरे को नहीं भेजा। तो मैं ऐसे बोला, नहीं ऐसे नहीं सोचने का है, कोई बात नहीं, इस बार तो तुम्हारे लिए मतलब बहुत अच्छा दिन होगा, मतलब ज़रूर जाएगा, ऐसे करके दीदी ने इनकरेज किया।
Carrying the weight of concern for her father's health, Swuro mustered the strength to participate in the trials. After 2 days of intense competition, she emerged on top, but her brother couldn't make the cut. As soon as the trials were over, Swuro dashed home to be with her father. Fortunately, he recovered from the stroke, and after spending a few days with him, Swuro returned to camp to prepare for the World Championship in Turin, Italy. It was a successful outing for the Indian women archers, as they clinched a silver medal in the championship and booked a berth for the Olympics for the 3rd time in a row. But Swuro had an uneasy feeling. She had been already dropped from the final Olympic team twice. A 3rd time would completely break her. But this time, the stars aligned and the Archery Association of India decided that the team that qualified for the 2012 London Olympics would represent the country at the event. Swuro was overjoyed. Ever since she first picked up a bow, her dream had been to participate in the Olympics and bring home a medal for India. Now, that dream was finally becoming a reality. The Indian women's archery team for the 2012 London Olympics was made up of Swuro alongside the experienced Olympian Bombela Devi and the world's #1 ranked archer Deepika Kumari, who was set to make her Olympic debut. The team shared a great rapport. According to Swuro, Deepika was very respectful of her teammates and despite being ranked world #1 at that time, was very humble, hardworking and open to feedback. After months of grueling training, the team finally landed in London. For Swuro, setting foot in the Games Village was a dream come true.
मतलब बहुत अच्छा फीलिंग्स था और प्रेशर भी था, क्योंकि नागालैंड से मैं ही एक लड़की ओलंपिक्स में जाके पार्टिसिपेट कर रहा था। सभी लोग इतना खुश था और इतना मतलब मेरे को इतना इनकरेज किया बहुत लोगों को ने।
In the 2012 London Olympics, 64 archers from 40 countries were vying for medals in the women's individual outdoor recurve event. The first elimination round began on the morning of 30th July at the world-famous Lord's Cricket Ground. In a big setback to India's medal hopes, Deepika suffered a shock defeat in the opening round. Bombela missed booking a berth in the final 16. It was up to Swuro to inch closer to a medal. After putting up a spirited fight, Swuro and her opponent's scores were levelled. A tie-breaker ensued. In a dramatic turn of events, both Swuro and her opponent hit a 9. The American archer's arrow was closer to the target. With that, any remaining hopes for a medal in the individual event were over for the Indian women archers. Undoubtedly, they were extremely disappointed with their performances. But the competition wasn't over yet.
Day 2 of the archery at Lord's Cricket Ground.
In the team event, India was pitted against Denmark.
This is all about quick fire, 24 arrows each. In a time constraint, you have 2 minutes. The clock doesn't just run, it races down.
As the girls took their positions behind the shooting line, the wind, which was always a constant presence in the stadium, picked up pace once again. Undaunted by the conditions, the girls stood unyielding. This was their moment.
You've got to be able to put up with the pressure inside the stadium, and it's full again, which is fantastic.
First round, India versus Denmark.
Denmark went first and posted a combined score of 24 after shooting 3 arrows. India responded by scoring 25 points and claiming a 1-point lead. Denmark unleashed their next barrage, hitting a 10, 8 and 9. Deepika then led the charge for Team India and scored an 8. Swuro was next. She held her breath, aimed at the target and released her arrow. With a resounding thud, the arrow pierced the heart of the bullseye, scoring a perfect 10. As the first set concluded, India stood at 52 points, still maintaining a razor-thin lead over Denmark. In the opening round of the second set, Denmark displayed their prowess, landing 2 bullseyes and amassing 29 points. The pressure was now on Team India. With steely resolve, Deepika showcased her exceptional skill by hitting a 10. It was Swuro's turn. The wind was swirling, almost daunting her.
हवा तो घूम रहा चारों तरफ, आवाज तो पानी की तरह बह के लेफ्ट राइट में भी देखो तो इतना सारा लोग था, कुछ समझ में नहीं आया किस तरफ एम करूं. बहुत सारा प्रेशर भी था, मगर कैसे करके भी मतलब अपने आप को कंट्रोल करके तीर चलाया.
Swuro let her arrow fly. But she had misread the wind, and the arrow landed on 6.
Ooh, lashed out wide.
She cursed under her breath, but there was no time to dwell on an errant shot. They still had many rounds to go. By the end of the second set, Denmark had a cumulative score of 107 points, while India was trailing with 103 points. The girls still had a fighting chance. The third set began with Deepika shooting for Team India. She hit an 8. Swuro was up next. She locked onto the target and sent her arrow hurtling through the air. Once again, it landed on 6.
Rather nasty 6. That's India's second 6.
Swuro's heart sank. She knew that her 2 sixes could potentially shift the momentum of the match and cost them the victory. But there was no time to reflect or react. They were racing against the clock. It was now Bombela's turn to put Team India back on track.
Devi with a 10.
She did so spectacularly by hitting a bullseye. Denmark then took to the range next and scored 26 points to widen the gap. The Indian girls bounced back, hitting a 9, 9 and a 10.
India are finding their form. Is it too late?
At the end of the third set, a narrow gap of 5 points separating them from Denmark's 160 points. The stage was set for the fourth and final set. Deepika took the lead once more in the first round and sent her arrow flying.
Kumari with a 9.
Swuro went next.
Swuro with a 10.
Bombela then followed Swuro's 10 by hitting a 10 of her own. The pressure was now on Denmark.
The healthy lead Denmark enjoyed is now down to one single point.
It was all down to the last and final round of the fourth set. A determined Deepika stepped up and aimed her last shot of the match. She let her arrow fly and struck 9. It was a promising start to the critical final round. Swuro stepped up to the shooting line. The world around her blurred as she focused solely on the target ahead. Then she released her arrow.
Swuro with an 8.
It wasn't the outcome she was hoping, but it was better than the 2 6s she had hit.
Bombaila Devi, last arrow.
Bombela was next. She anchored herself on the shooting line and let her arrow fly. It landed squarely on 9.
Total 210 ratchets up the tension on Denmark.
Denmark now needed 26 points to claim victory. As the Danish girls took their positions, the Indian girls watched, their hearts pounding in their chests.
9.
The first Danish girl struck a 9, mirroring Deepika's shot.
16 behind.
The second Danish girl followed with an 8,
8.
just as Swuro had done. As the third Danish girl took her position, the Indian girls hoped it wouldn't mirror Bombela's 9, as that would mean Denmark would win by a single point. But that is exactly what happened.
It's a 9 and it's enough.
The third arrow struck a 9, dealing Team India a devastating loss by a 1-point margin. It was a long walk from the shooting range to the dressing room for the 3 Indian girls. The realization that they had missed India's last chance for a medal in women's archery was almost too much to bear. For Swuro, the burden of regret was particularly heavy. If only she hadn't landed those crucial 6s, victory would have been theirs.
खेलते समय मेरा एक एरो मेरा एक मिस्टेक के चलते मेरा हमारा टीम इंडिया हार गया तो मेरे को बहुत खराब लगा और फिर भी कोशिश किया अच्छा करने के मगर हवा भी था तो अच्छा नहीं कर पाए बहुत अफसोस है उसके लिए.
The arrows used in the Olympics were made of space-age materials and weigh about 25 to 30 grams. When released, they fly at an astonishing speed of 210 feet per second. Although they are designed to decrease aerodynamic drag, they still behave extremely unpredictably in windy conditions. Swuro's coach, Sanjeev Kumar, weighs in on how understanding and navigating the wind is a critical factor in archery.
The weather conditions play a very major role in the performance of an archer. Generally in India, the weather conditions range from, if you look at, around from 18 degrees to 44 degrees in summer and 18 degrees around in the winters. But when we go to Lord's and we went for the London Olympics, it was in a Lord's Stadium, so therefore the wind was changing. So generally when we practice a place where the changing is not a changing wind, it's one directional wind. The other is temperature also plays a part because we went to a place where the temperature was cooler. So both these, therefore acclimatization is very important. Shooting in different weather conditions are very important so that we are prepared to shoot in a lower temperature and also in a changing wind condition. So both these factors impacted the archers when they performed at the London 2012 Olympics.
The loss marked the end of the Olympic journey for the Indian women's archery team. Despite giving it their best, they couldn't secure any medals for the country. Reflecting on her Olympic journey, Swuro now has this to say.
मैं अपने आप को बहुत लकी समझता हूँ कि मैं 2012 ओलंपिक्स में गया. अच्छा भी लगा, बहुत खराब भी लगा क्योंकि मैं जितना मेहनत किया उतना मतलब अच्छा नहीं कर पाए.
Swuro had realized her long-held dream of participating in the Olympics. Despite not securing a medal, she found contentment in the experience. To think that a girl from a small village in Nagaland could ascend to such heights seems like a tale woven by destiny itself. Swuro had not only defied expectations by participating in the Olympics, she had shattered them, leaving a trail of inspiration in her wake. Her story serves as a beacon, a reminder that dreams, when pursued with unwavering dedication, can rewrite the very fabric of reality. The 2012 Olympics marked Swuro's first and final appearance in the Games. Although she stopped competing in official tournaments, her connection with archery continues. Today, Swuro is an assistant commandant in Nagaland Police. She still practices archery and coaches the police archery team. By her own admission, she's sometimes tempted to return to the competitive arena and play for India again. But as a mother of 2 children, her priorities have now changed. Nevertheless, archery remains an integral part of her life, a passion she intends to carry forward indefinitely. To conclude this episode, we leave you with a special message from Chekrovolu Swuro.
मेहनत करते रहो और मेहनत करते रहने से एक दिन ना एक दिन उसका ये फल तो ज़रूर मिलेगा. तो मन दे के मतलब कुछ भी करो, मतलब स्पोर्ट्स में हो या एजुकेशन में हो, कोई भी मतलब कोई भी चीज़ में अब सक्सेस नहीं मिल रहा है, मगर दिल छोटा मत हो. मैं भी मतलब ज़िंदगी में बहुत उतार चढ़ाव देखा है. मेहनत करते रहो, मगर कभी भी हार नहीं मानने का.
We hope you enjoyed this episode with Chekrovolu Swuro. For more inspiring stories on Indian women athletes, join us for the next episode of Almost Perfect.
You're listening to
आप सुन रहे हैं. You're listening. तुम सुनो था. You केल्ता इदिरा. Radio Azim Premji University.